Hey, what's up, guys? Back again with another video. Gonna do a slight Q&A today, but it's actually only gonna be one Q and one A. Um, Basically, the question was like, how did I get past my anxiety and panic disorder? And I think that's a pretty damn good question, but it's got a really broad answer to it. Granted, like most of my videos, really kind of focus in on a lot of tips and tricks, or whatever you want to call it, or little strategies or whatever that I use personally to I don't know go about my day-to-day business. But it's like I don't necessarily use tips or tricks or whatever you want to call it. Like I said, I mean that's the verbiage that was given to me in the question. But you know what I've done is actually like I guess the same as what it would be like if you were going to lose weight for long term. I mean, if you wanted to make a long term change in your body, it's a lifestyle change. And I don't think people really grasp the concept. Because, I mean, it's easy to do something once or practice something for maybe, a week or a month or, whatever, and you kind of stick with something. And then you just kind of expect those results to stay. And that's just not real life. Because, I mean, if you think about it, the way the world changes, the way education has changed, I mean, technology, the whole nine. I mean, if you don't change with the times, or you don't continue to get better, continue to learn the new processes, new things, you kind of get left in the dust and you're in a position where you're just not able to perform. Well, to I guess break it down a little easier, it's a lifestyle change. And I can't really explain it any differently than that. It's really that I take every day for today, which was something I wasn't able to do in the past. I mean, taking today for today is actually kind of difficult. I mean, considering you're living yesterday, and you're wondering, curious, concerned about what'll happen tomorrow or 6 months down the road. I mean, it doesn't matter which way you look at it. I mean, when your mind is on those things, I mean, granted, for goal setting purposes and stuff, sure, you have to have a good strategy like, hey, I'm going to be here in a week or I'm going to be at this point in a month or a year down the line. I mean, I'm not saying that's not a good thing, but I guess for starters, for a good foundation, is to make a decision. I mean, a conscious decision, like not telling I want to, I need to, I would like to. No, I'm going to take today for today. And what I mean by that is that what happens today, what your plan is for today, what you're working on today, who you see today, what you even eat today, like that's where your focus should be because you can only control the present. I mean, you can set yourself up for a good future, but I'll tell you what, none of us have a DeLorean to go back in time and change anything. And that's, really something that you have to wrap your mind around and actually accept. I mean, I've talked in previous videos about how acceptance is so damn important to the recovery process because you really do have to accept the fact that you cannot go back in time and change what's already happened. I mean, which we fast forward to the present moment, like today is what you can control. And being involved with, family and friends and your work or your hobbies and what you're doing right now is so damn important. I mean, other, great authors, about especially about anxiety and panic, like they talk about, living from the grave backwards. And that's kind of the culmination of what we do, right? I mean, you think to yourself, I have multiple sclerosis, I have cancer, I have heart disease, I have, brain aneurysms. I mean, just to name a few things right off the top of my head. I mean, you're already in the mindset like, holy crap, I'm gonna die. I mean, really just, I don't know, wrap your mind around that for a second. And if you really were, like, think about that for a minute. I mean, not to scare you, but I mean, really think about that for a minute. If you knew right now that you actually were dying, what would you do? What would change? Because I mean, right now, I mean, there's a good chance that you're either extremely anxious, you've had 4 panic attacks today, or you had, You know, a lot of anxiety last night. You didn't sleep well. Maybe you didn't eat right this morning. I mean, there's a lot of things, but I mean, what would be different if you actually had one of these disorders that you fear? And I think that's a really cool thing to think about. I mean, granted, it's scary, sure, but if you were to find out today that you were dying, how would your life change? I want you to take your journal out, pause the video, and write down how your life would be any different. How does it change if you actually find out you have something? Pause the video, unpause when you're done writing. Just take 5 or 10 minutes, right? Just jot down the first ideas that come to your mind. Okay? We're back. So, what did you find out? What did you find out? I mean, granted, I didn't give you a whole lot of time to think about it because I wanted the things to come right off the top of your head. But how does your life change? I'm waiting for an answer. And if you answered that you have to plan, you're absolutely correct. Because if you learned that you had a cancer today, you would have to plan for the future, right? You have to plan your treatment. You have to plan a new eating regimen. You have to plan how to take care of your body. You have to plan how you set your family up in case that you were to pass away today. Let's rewind for a minute. Now let's go back to when you found out that you had anxiety. How did your life change? Repause the video and write that down. The day that you found out that you had anxiety. Because I know you all been to the doctor probably 100 times. Don't bullshit me now. I know you have, because we all have. Pause the video and write down how your life changed when you found out you had anxiety. Okay, we're unpaused. How did your life change? Well, basically, it turned you into the most skeptical, analytical, insane person that you've ever been. You started to research because the doctors absolutely did not know what they were talking about, right? They can find cancer, but they, in millions of people every year, but they couldn't find it in you, the one person. Think about that for a second. Has that ever happened? Yes. Has it been missed? Sure. But it's a very small percentage. Okay, and as many times as you've been to the doctor, as much blood work as you've had done, I guarantee they would have found it by now. Same thing with MS. You've probably had every test that you could possibly have done to find out if you have MS. So you would be in that 1% that they didn't find, you know what I mean, after 10, 20 different tests. I mean, think about it. Anyways, going back to what you wrote down, how did your life change? You started to analyze every little thing that ever went on in your body. Anything that happens on a day-to-day basis, you analyze it, analyze it, analyze it. Instead of doing what? What did you do when we paused the video the first time? You went through and you made a plan of how you were going to either recover from cancer or B, you were going to take care of your family. Just like that. That's how I got past my anxiety and panic. Because I sat down and I formulated a plan as though I had a disease, a death sentence, I guess. I started to plan. What was I going to do? So I tried to align myself with some of the best doctors that I knew of around here. It didn't work, for me at least. I started researching all the time. I started researching the root cause. I accepted the fact that it was anxiety. I accepted that it was panic attacks. So many people in the United States and across the world deal with this disorder every day. There's so much literature on it. Granted, most of it's bullshit. I mean, most of it's crap from people that read textbooks or, I don't know, someone that hasn't actually dealt with it. So, I mean, yeah, a lot of the stuff that I read, It didn't do a whole lot for me. I admit that. But a lot of it did. A lot of it did a lot of good for me. I researched it, I learned it. That's why so many of my videos I talk about getting to know your enemy. I understood what needed to be done. Granted, it wasn't mapped out for me because every case is different. What you fear is not what I fear. Granted, we may share some common fears. I mean, if we had a Venn diagram, granted, there's going to be some things that intersect. But most likely, I mean, a lot of us are going to have different things. So for me to give you a clear-cut plan on how I got over mine may not necessarily work for you. But what will work for you is a good plan, a good strategy. Learning what foods set you off, taking stimulants out of your life if you need to or you don't need to. Learning which foods that you don't eat. What are your eating habits? What is your exercise like? I mean, where's your focus? Like, what do you think about every day? I mean, without knowing those things, you'll never get better. I'm promising you, you're not going to get better. I mean, you may get a medication that freaking horse tranquilizes you, but I mean, at the end of the day, all you have done is mask the problem instead of facing it head on and knowing what the hell you need to do. I mean, sit down and figure it out. Like, make categories. That's what I did. I would categorize and I would use different notebooks to sit and document everything. I mean, it seems very time consuming, but I'll tell you what, I mean, it was a hell of a lot better than sitting there as an invalid, freaked out every day, scared, not knowing, not having any control. That's what it all boils down to, is control. I took control back because you know what? It might have been something I didn't know a whole hell of a lot about to start off with. I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. Sure, I wanted to blame demons. I wanted to blame, cancer and AIDS and, drinking water and all these other insane things. Like, I wanted to blame those things. And will I end up with something like that? Sure, maybe it's possible. Maybe yes, maybe no. But I relinquished control. And I learned what was going on in the here and now. Talking about the present again. Because until you understand what's going on today, how in the hell are you going to figure out what tomorrow's going to bring? You got to figure out the now. What's going on today? What are we going to do today to get better? I mean, if you're a smoker and you know that shit helps or it hinders, okay? You think it helps or hinders. You write that shit down. You figure out, you document every day, even if it's just 2-3 lines, 2-3 sentences. I mean, if you wake up in the morning after, you being a smoker, you wake up in the morning and your chest hurts, you can't breathe good, blah, 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 and it makes you a little bit nervous, then maybe that's something that shouldn't be in your life. So you cut it immediately. You don't, maybe I'll do it next week, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. You do it immediately. Immediately. If you want it bad enough, if you want to get over this, that is what you have to do with every situation. Granted, that's only one of many. But I mean the same thing with food. I mean, if you're eating a consistent bad diet that's going to give you indigestion, give you heartburn, and give you, bowel problems, whatever it is, or make you overweight, make you not feel good inside, and make you question your health even more, then you need to stop. There's no easy way. I mean, sure, I would love for there to be a magic pill. I wish there was a clear cookie cutter way, like point A to point Z, of how to get over this. But there's not. You have to do the research. You have to put the hard work in. Doesn't matter what it is. I mean, you look at those infomercials about diet pills. We've talked about that. Those are bullshit. With every single infomercial, at the end, it's like, results will vary when paired with eating habits and exercise, diet and exercise. Because really, when you boil it all down, the pills don't do shit. It's the actual hard work. The sacrifice of eating right. I'm not saying it's even sacrificing, but I mean, sure. I mean, if you're addicted to fast food, like, yeah, it's going to be a sacrifice for you. It's going to be tough. Same thing with smoking. It's going to be a sacrifice to get over if you've got to. And exercise. That's how you get thin. There's no other way of doing it. I mean, sure, you can get surgery, but it really isn't all that pretty after the surgery. I mean, look it up online. It's not that pretty. Okay, you still have to work hard. Okay. So, I guess to answer that question, I'm sure that's probably not the answer that you were necessarily looking for, but I'm telling you, clear cut, if you don't have a good plan and you are not strategizing and doing what you need to do now, your cycle will continue. It will continue and continue and continue until you make a conscious change. You make a decision, a clear cut decision. Today I quit smoking. Today I start eating better. Today I call people and tell them I'm sorry for the shit that I did wrong that fucking haunts me every day. Today I'm going to be a better mother, father, sister, brother. I'm going to be a better worker. I'm going to be a better boss. Until you make that conscious decision to change today, it doesn't change. The cycle continues. Nothing changes without change. So basic. Think about that. Nothing is different until the variable is changed. You have to take one, remove one, or add one. And it's up to you. How bad do you want it? I've said it 1,000 times. I would pay $1 million to not have anxiety and panic. Well, will you put $7 back into your wallet every day to feel better? Will you take a little extra time to cook the right things and make the right choices to feel better? Will you swallow your pride and fix the wrongs and the guilt? And tomorrow will you put your best foot forward to be the person that you envision yourself as wanting to be? It's really simple, guys. I mean, it really is. And as hard as anxiety is to deal with, the solution is so damn easy the minute you make that decision. When you've had enough. I had enough. I made changes. Certainly there are certain things that I talked about today that, yeah, I'm not great with. But I didn't need to change that in order to get to where I am now. Like I said, it's case sensitive. So, I hope this somewhat answers your question. It may not have been the answer you're looking for because, I'm sorry, I can't ship you with Magic Pill for $19.99. But if you call in the next 10 minutes, we'll double that order. Doesn't happen. But what I can promise you is you can come back here every day and rewatch this video, and I will tell you the same thing over and over and over again. Promised, advertised, same thing every day. Hard work and a good plan. Figure out what causes your shit. Well, that's about all I have for today. Maybe we'll do some more Q&As in the future. Feel free to shoot me messages and whatnot. Like I said, I hope this helped you in some way or another. But you guys take care of yourself, and like I said, hopefully we'll have another video up soon.